So, the topic I want to talk about today is Ghostbusters. If you didn't know, I'm a pretty big fan of that franchise, those movies, and now felt like a good time because it's been about a year since Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the last movie, came out. So, I'm just in the mood to talk about Ghostbusters today. But the other half of the video title, why I'm doing that, because talking about Ghostbusters, I could do like what movies are the best and why, or I could talk about like what maybe is the best direction to take the franchise in the future. Those are both interesting, but they're kind of hard. I just don't know. I don't have a solid or strong opinion on what I would cover in that. So I wanted to do a simpler choice because I'm also a very big fan of the Lego video games. I just like the format of those. I like the style. I grew up on a lot of them. And I think Ghostbusters would make a very good Lego game. So we're just gonna do a hypothetical video of like what would be in a good Ghostbusters Lego video game. What ideas do I have for that? I don't know. So yeah, that's what today's video is. I just think it would be a good idea. So I want to throw around some hypothetical ideas and stuff for that. Pretty low key, not a hugely planned video. Just I don't know. But yeah, I think it would be kind of similar in scope or scale to Lego Jurassic World, which was actually not one that I grew up with, but I played it relatively recently, and that's a good one because similar number of movies, similar number of levels, similar number of abilities, similar amount of hub area. Yeah, so like those four things, that's kind of what I describe as the key components of a Lego video game. They have a very large character roster. They're based on movies that have enough sequences to make levels out of. You got a variety of different abilities that you can use, and then an interesting hub world. And also, kind of, it has to be like friendly, family friendly enough to fit into Lego form. Like, I really do like Jurassic World, but that was kind of funny because it's like nobody dies in those movies in the Lego version. Nobody gets eaten by dinosaurs. Definitely, I don't know. So Ghostbusters is actually that's kind of an interesting topic. Maybe I'll talk about someday. It's like should Ghostbusters be kind of edgy adult comedy or should it be more genuine family friendly? I don't know. But there's four movies in the main series. There was the reboot. I haven't seen that. I don't really care. But yeah, I'm gonna try and throw some ideas around for a Lego video game of Ghostbusters. So first, characters. There are plenty of characters in Ghostbusters that you could use to pad up the character roster. You could do alternate outfits for a lot of the main characters if you want. You could include all the different ghosts, not just from the movies, but also the cartoon, the real Ghostbusters. That's a cartoon that I haven't seen. I would like to watch it at some point. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, definitely a lot of options for characters you could do. Ones to definitely include, of course, Peter, Ray, Egon, Winston, Janine, Dana, Lewis. Those would all probably be playable at some point for at least like the first two movies. Unlocks, like you could unlock the Library Ghost, Slimer, Zool, Vince Cortho, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Walter Peck, all sorts of protagonists and antagonists characters that could be included in the game. Ghostbusters 2, because that was just for one. Same playable characters, but new unlocks like Janos, Vigo the Carpathian. What'd be fun is the Statue of Liberty as like a minifigure. Would be cool. The Scoleri brothers. A lot of ghost characters, a lot of human characters. I think it would definitely be a full roster to work with. As for the two legacy sequels, get some more characters that are now playable, like Phoebe, Trevor, Podcast, Lucky, Gary, Callie, all those introduced in Ghostbusters Afterlife. So for some more unlock characters, Muncher, the Metal Muncher. I think you'd finally unlock Gozer, not actually from the first movie. By finishing up the first movie, you'd unlock Gozer after completing the story of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think that would be kind of interesting. The mini Stay Puft Marshmallow creatures, those would be kind of fun, interesting characters to include. And also Ivo Shandor. I actually find Ivo Shandor to be a very interesting, like, unseen character in Ghostbusters. In Afterlife, we finally do get to see him, and so I definitely include him as a character. because he's a very interesting one. For Frozen Empire, you'd include Lars Pinfield, Nadim Razmati. I like barely remember some of these names. I had to look them up. Hubert Wardski, Melody, and then for other unlocks, because those might be playable in the story, the Sewer Dragon, the Possessor Ghost. The Possessor Ghost as like the lion statue, then Garaka. So yeah, just variety of ghost and human characters to make up the roster. Next section, levels. So probably 5 per movie. I think the Ghostbusters movies are definitely ones that there would be enough sequences that would make good levels, but it's a little more grounded than other franchises, so that's kind of interesting. Again, I think it's a very interesting comparison to Jurassic World, which is also somewhat more grounded of a franchise to doing a Lego game. And for levels, most of the Lego games do have always 2 playable characters. I think some moments would have to just have 1, but I think you could make it work because sometimes they just have like 1 character, but then also if you have another group of characters as the second player or whatever. They've done it before in other games, like Lord of the Rings, I think, is a good example with Gandalf on his own. So you might have to include some levels that do stuff like that. So the way I'm going to break up Ghostbusters 1 into 5 levels, the first level would be when they just find the ghost in the library. And I want to come up with kind of fun names for all the levels if I can. This one, I don't really know, just noise in the library, that's like a saying. It could be the level name. Second level would be the capturing Slimer, the first ever call at the Sedgwick Hotel. So names for that level. One thing that they've done recently with like the Skywalker Saga Lego game is include direct quotes from the movies as the level names. That's pretty fun. So you could go with like, oh, he slimed me, or we got one, or just if you want to do the tactic of doing alliteration for the level names, just do Slimer at the Sedgwick as the level name. Third level would cover like investigating Dana and Lewis being possessed by the terror dogs. So you could just call the level Possessed, or if you want to do the quote, do No Dana, Only Zool. That'd be fun. Fourth level would cover, well, they go to jail, but then they eventually leave jail, and then they just have to travel back to Dana's apartment building for the big finale. So just that section of the movie, you might have to come up with more original scenes to show them just like fighting ghosts in the city, but you could be creative with that. But the level name, I want to try like a rhyming scheme, because that's also a tactic they use for some level names. So I have 2 ideas. One of them you can't really do, but Big Mess Caused by Dickless. That's kind of a near rhyme, and that's the name that Walter Peck gets in the movie from Venkman, Dickless. But of course you can't do that for an actual kids game. So if you do want to do the rhyme, maybe the wreck caused by Peck, because it is a wreck. You know, he unplugs the containment unit and then all hell breaks loose. So it is, I don't know. And the last level would be just fighting Gozer's forces on top of the apartment building. A couple ideas for the name. If we want to do rhyming, a marshmallow fellow would be kind of fun. And then if we do want to do alliteration, then like Stay Puft Showdown or something. So yeah, those are my ideas for movie 1. Movie 2, I'm going to drink some water real quick. I'm recording this all in one take, not breaking it up and putting it back together after. So, but yeah. So Ghostbusters 2, first level would just cover various little vignettes. Maybe you'd have to do like it so that it's one character playable in one piece by themselves, and other scenes, moments have another character. They wouldn't be 2 characters in the same scene, but it would be 2 players if you would still be able to do that. So the scenes would be like when they're at the kid's birthday party just being entertainers, or maybe a scene in the lab, or on Peter's talk show. Or I think a very interesting one to include would be Dana chasing down the stroller when it gets possessed and starts to roll away into the traffic, the first kind of sign of spookiness appearing in the second movie. For a title name, either just like 5 years later, because it is 5 years after the first movie, or out of business, because the Ghostbusters are out of business. They're doing other stuff at this point. So yeah, honestly, it's not a great movie to have like a opening set piece. So that's kind of sucks. But that's my ideas for it. Second level would be when they first discover the slime, and then the courtroom scene with the Scolari brothers. Call this level just straight up the Scolari brothers because they would be like a boss fight, and some Lego games just use the title of the villain as the level name. Or you could do alliteration like Scolari Scare or something. Third level would be them further investigating the underground slime river, and then the negative emotion from that slime river causes them to fight each other. That could be kind of a cool scene to do in the video game. For the level name, I don't know, just slime time. It rhymes, so there's that. Fourth level would be kind of interesting. They use the slime to pilot and control the Statue of Liberty and get that walking around. And I actually only have one idea for the name of this level. I think I would just call it a positive symbol. I'm not even sure if that exact phrase ever appears in the movie, but that's the whole point of the scene. They need a big positive symbol to like motivate New York City against the evil ghost or whatever. So they use the Statue of Liberty. Or you could do something with Liberty in the title. Last level would be at the museum. They fight Vigo the Carpathian. A few ideas for the name. Just, again, Vigo the Carpathian, name of the bad guy. For alliteration, you could do like Vigo Vanquished. But that's kind of a spoiler for, oh no, they win. Or another rhyming thing. This is like a near rhyme, but portrait threat, because he is in a giant portrait. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's the second movie. How I'd break it up into levels. Third movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Actually, probably my favorite movie, but that's not the most popular opinion. It's just kind of mine. I don't know. I see the worth in the belated Legacy sequel, especially the first one. Afterlife is really good in my opinion. First level, probably just going to call Welcome to Somerville. You could include both the first opening scene, Egon's last stand fighting the ghosts and stuff, and then dying. And then the bulk of the level would be getting introduced to Phoebe and maybe Podcast and Gary Gruberson, and kind of investigating the ghost trap at the summer school. That leads us into the second level, which would be at Spengler Farm. You could just call it Spengler Farm, but basically restoring the Ghostbusters equipment and then the Ecto-1 car. And that would be kind of interesting because you would like do use an ability on something, and that would trigger, like in-game logic, trigger something to happen, and you would do that with like, that works in the plot because Ghost Egon is like kind of invisibly helping the kids fix the stuff and all that. So that'd be kind of cool. So you could actually, another name would be Grandpa Was a Ghostbuster. That's kind of alliterative. That might be neat. Next scene, now that you've got the car all fixed up, you could do your first adventure and chase the metal munching ghost. Idea for this, another alliteration, just, I don't know, muncher on the move. So you chase the muncher ghost and eventually catch him. This would be more like a vehicle level, and that would, I know vehicle levels aren't always the most popular things in Lego games, but it'd be good to have something like that, because you do have a notable famous car with Ghostbusters. So. Next level was actually kind of interesting, because in the actual movie, they kind of go to the mine, and then they go back to the town, and then they go back to the mine again, but just explore the Shandor mine, and for a title, I don't know, Shandor Mine Deadline, just to get some rhyming in there. And then last level is just the fight Gozer at the farm. The original Ghostbusters show back up at the end. So like a final battle level. This is when you would unlock Gozer, because technically Gozer's not like fully defeated until after the end of this movie. So, and for title, I don't know, just Gozer Closer. I don't know, rhyme scheme. So yeah, that's my idea. I'm gonna drink water again. All right, last movie, Frozen Empire. First level would be kind of another vehicle thing, just chasing down the sewer dragon ghost all throughout Manhattan, and then maybe at the end you could do a little scene just playing chess with Melody, but call the level line on Dragon in Manhattan, like near rhyme. Second level, investigate the orb at the Paranormal Research and Development Center. That location is under Winston Zeddemor's company. You can call it, I don't know, Zeddemore Tor. if you want to rhyme. So that'd be the name of that. Third level is when they all go to the library to learn more about the Garaka demon or whatever. And then the possessor takes control of the lion statue. I don't know, research with Ray, because that scene was pretty notable for including Ray. Ray's maybe my favorite Ghostbuster. And you get an alliteration if you do that. Fourth level would cover right at the start when Phoebe does the whole astral projecting thing, and that triggers Garaka like taking over and stuff. And then you'd include some stuff that's really not in the movie, but it was in like the trailers. But like everyone traveling through the frozen city and fighting ghosts and stuff, and then eventually getting back to the firehouse. So cover like that bit. Just call it like, I don't know, the death chill, because that's a phrase that gets thrown around in the movie. And then last level would just be fighting Garaka at the firehouse. Level name Firehouse Finale or Fire Master Finale. Just something to get that alliteration in there. Okay, so that's all the levels. Abilities, next section is abilities. So I thought of several abilities and tried to think if they would all be ones that a character in Ghostbusters would have. And some of the same characters could have slightly different abilities based on their outfit or when they are in the timeline. But I'll just go over all the abilities I thought of. And actually, second, again, I'm trying to make this game fairly similar in scope to Lego Jurassic World. Jurassic World is kind of a mid-range Lego game. It was not super old, not super new. It has like a mid-range number of abilities, not like a million and not like none. So I made a little graph showing when all the games came out and how many abilities they include. This outlier here is for Dimensions. I think that's kind of interesting. Actually, Ghostbusters were in Dimensions because Dimensions had a lot of 80s nostalgia in it, but that's a tangent. We don't have to do that. Okay, so you could do just like repairing stuff, fixing stuff with like a wrench. Maybe Winston could have that, I don't know. Maybe do some tracking, like just tracking down ghost stuff. I don't know if you would need that though. That's just, you could definitely adapt to the Ghostbusters world. Being immune to cold weather or freezingness, because Garaka would be a major character, at least in the fourth movie. So maybe certain outfits could be more resistant to the cold. That could be an ability. I think a lot of the ghosts would just have the ability to go up to like a window on a wall and like scare the person at the window, and then that would trigger something. Probably similar to how it works in like Lego Batman 1 with the like mind control windows or something like that. Also, speaking of that, if you want to include mind control, you could probably find a character that can do mind control, one of the ghosts maybe. Mind control in the other sense that it's used, like with a little beam that connects you to another character, and then you control that character. Again, some ghosts could be able to turn invisible, get past like security cameras. We've seen that ability pretty often in Lego games. Okay, this next one. So the main ability would be just the Ghostbusters using their proton pack to shoot the little laser. And I think the laser would mainly function as an electric beam as opposed to some other type of beam with some other destructive ability. And specifically, actually, what might be interesting is doing like a color wheel. So like you can pick what color you want your beam to be, and then that would be like if you shoot a green laser, then it can affect green ghosts. Blue laser affects blue ghosts. But we have to like match the color. That could be kind of interesting. And then, so that would just allow you to actually catch the ghosts, and that would be like the main weapon, so you could make it a little more elaborate. One other interesting idea, this actually doesn't have a clear analog in any other video games of Lego, but just some ability relating to like manipulating audio, because you've got Podcast and you've got Janine, and they both deal with like audio and phones and stuff, and you could definitely have a shared ability between them that just does something with audio to trigger stuff. Another ability, a lot of Lego games do have the ability to just destroy silver metal. I think this game should do that mainly because of the metal muncher, and you do it by munching the metal as opposed to causing an explosion, so that'd be kind of interesting. The main weapons would be able to suspend ghosts, like I said. If there's any glass objects, some characters could be able to generate sound to destroy that. One example actually would be Dana, because she plays the cello, and that could destroy glass. I don't know. Small tubes, kind of like the pet crawl things, or even this would have two angles. The little baby mini Stay Puffs could call through the small tubes, and then also in Frozen Empire, we see the ghost trap turns into like a drone with wheels. Whichever character pilots that, probably Trevor, would have the ability to send that through tubes and stuff. You could have some sort of electrical switch, because I think, don't quote me on this, I think part of the backstory of Winston is that he used to be an electrician, so he could know how to do like electrical switches and stuff. You could have keys for Ivo Shandor designed architecture, so like the main apartment building from the first movie, or the mine from the Afterlife. So some characters would have access to Shandor designed stuff. They would have the right key for that. That could be its own ability. Or maybe if Shandor himself uses the key, that could cause some supernatural effect. So definitely stuff to play with in that area. A lot of the main villains are very powerful ghosts. I think they should have a shared ability to do some sort of like summon or creation feature, just to like show off their great power. It would kind of be like using the lantern spots in Batman or DC, just like build something and summon something like that. Another ability maybe just be from Jurassic World, using like the bolt cutters to break something open. That was a pretty interesting one. It really only appeared in Jurassic World, but again, since this is a more grounded game, I think it would fit here as well. Any ghost or character, maybe like the main outfits from Ghostbusters 2, would have like tanks and just be able to like spray slime and fill up tanks with slime. That would work like Batman 2 with the hazard suit, like that. A couple abilities would work kind of similarly, just like badge access. Certain characters would be city officials, and they could access certain areas based on that. Same thing, certain characters from the fourth movie would be part of Winston's company and would have access to stuff like that. Ghostbusters lab, paranormal research, access to that. Maybe you could have some characters have the ability to light up areas. Some ghosts could do that. If you want to give one of the main Ghostbusters a flashlight, is there like special ability that could work? So illumination is one. Another one, PKE meter, could scan or sense stuff. That's an ability that you've seen in other Lego games. This would just be the Ghostbusters equivalent of that. Another unique one. I specifically think that Ray should have some sort of ability to do with occult books or objects, just be able to interact with those. I don't know how that would look, but Ray, maybe also Hubert Wartsky from the fourth movie, could just interact with occult books or other objects. From Jurassic World, the Velociraptors could like bite down on bars and like show off their strength. I think some of the more animalistic type ghosts, like the terror dogs, should also have an ability like that. Some of the ghosts would just be able to bite down on stuff with their big jaws. Garako would be able to freeze stuff, because that was his main power, freezing stuff. So a cold beam would be one of the things. I think Spengler and probably Phoebe and maybe Gary Gruberson would all have the shared ability to like a science puzzle, kind of similar to Ian Malcolm in Jurassic World can do like a math puzzle. Couple more from the second movie. Vigo and maybe other ghosts would have the ability to go into paintings, and then Dana and Janos would have the ability to clean up paintings, just because that's what they're trained to do as museum workers. So those would be two separate abilities. I don't know how they would necessarily like work. I don't know if there's another analog in any other games, but two ideas there. From the fourth movie, Nadim would have the ability to shoot a heat beam because he's a fire master. You've seen that in other Lego games. Some ghosts would have the ability to just possess objects that could cause a thing there. So that's another ability. And then last one is the ghost trap. I think only one Ghostbuster of each era would be like holding the trap, and that would be their like main thing. Maybe Venkman for the original cast, and then Trevor for the new cast. But that would have to be its own designated ability. Like all Ghostbusters can use the proton pack to shoot stuff. And actually, side note, once the fourth movie happens and they upgrade the proton packs, then the beams from those would not just be electric, but also heat beams. So that would be an interesting upgrade. But yeah, with the ghost trap, every Ghostbuster has the proton pack, but only a couple of Ghostbusters carry around a ghost trap. So that would be a more unique ability. So that's all the abilities. Last thing is hub. So kind of, again, like Jurassic World, probably 4 hub areas, one for main each movie. The problem is Jurassic World, they're all on like different sections of the island. 3 of the 4 movies take place in New York City. And New York City has been represented in Lego games a lot of times with Marvel. So I want to design it a little bit differently than just the regular Manhattan Island. So what I'm kind of envisioning is a more round New York, just that has all the major locations that are in the main few movies. And what you could do is have certain sections kind of blocked off until the locations in said sections are relevant for the movie that you're playing through. And so it would kind of look like this. It would kind of be a big circle and then divided in thirds. 1/3 would have all the stuff that is in the first movie, like Columbia University, the public library, the Sedgwick Hotel, Dana's apartment building. Second movie would have like the abandoned subway and the courthouse and the Statue of Liberty. And then Frozen Empire would have a park and Winston's Paranormal Research Center. And actually the public library would have to be on the border of the Ghostbusters 1 section and the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire section, because it actually occurs in both movies. And then actually in the very center of this New York hub would be the firehouse, because all the movies take place at least a little bit in the firehouse. So that's what it would kind of look like. But I didn't forget about Afterlife. You'd also have to have a hub world for Somerville, which would need to include the Spengler farm and like the restaurant and the police station and the Shandor mine and the school actually as well. So just design a hub world that has all those. And actually there'd be a big road that connects Somerville hub world to the main New York City hub world. And I think what would actually be interesting is just for like the later game, like the hub world exploration, include some stuff to do, like puzzles to solve, like gold bricks maybe to get on that road. Because in DC Supervillains, there's a road that goes from Metropolis to Smallville, but there's nothing to do on it. So this one includes some stuff on that road, just to do as like the late game free play stuff and all that. But yeah, I think that's all my ideas that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed all my ideas.